Hey, what's going on? It's John. It's time for the JMART CAST for Monday, July 18th. What's going on, friends and family? Welcome. Thank you for joining me on another episode. You won't know this, but this is try number 2 here with Joey from the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast, co-host with Len, the legend. So thank you so much for joining me and just being okay with some of these technical difficulties, Joey.
Bro, we're sustaining, okay? We're a resilient bunch over here in the Bitcoin space. No problem at all. Plus, like I said, you're not in charge of the service. We got to get those guys from Riverside on the horn ASAP.
Yeah, Riverside let me down. The first time I used it, it was perfect, but something's wrong. I don't know. It's probably some issue on my end that I'm messing up. I've been like messing around with my computer recently, actually. Actually, this is Bitcoin related, so I'll tell you about it. I've been making my own node, like from scratch, using an old desktop computer. I have been using this thing. It's just been collecting dust in the closet. I just upgraded some of the storage and memory on it, and it's like, even though it's a pretty old computer, like I want to say like older than 5 years old, it's with the upgrades, it's beefy enough to be able to handle being a node and like being able to not only be a Bitcoin node, but a Lightning node too. So I haven't gotten to the Lightning aspect of it yet, but I've got the full Bitcoin blockchain downloaded. I got like a Fulcrum server on there. I've got the Ronin Dojo. I don't know if you're familiar with that you can use with the Samurai wallet. I've got that on there. My wallet's all hooked up to the thing and everything. So I'm, validating and all my own transactions and everything.
Sir, you're a network sustainer. You're maintaining the sovereignty of the money. That's what we need to see in this area, sir.
Yes, thank you. It's a hard job, but someone's got to do it. Cheers.
Yeah, sure. Real hard. It's real hard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so I've been. It's not the desktop I'm using right now for the recording, but it's another desktop, and then you don't really. You do what's called SSHing. I'm not even sure what that is, but you do an SSH into the node from your regular working desktop computer, because it's on the same like Wi-Fi network, or it's not on Wi-Fi. It's got an actual Ethernet cable on it,
right?
Because it's on the same network. You can SSH into it from like a terminal on your regular computer. So I've been learning like CLI. Like a command line interface.
Yeah. You're like doing the old like DOS cypherpunk mid 90s UI for like the family computer. I mean, those were the days. Like all I knew how to do was open up Wolfenstein 3D. Beyond that, I couldn't do anything at all on my family computer.
I'm not even familiar with that. I only came to Canada when I was in 2000. So October of 2000.
You got all the good video games, buddy, when you got there.
Yeah. What kind of computer did you have Wolfenstein on?
Oh man, that's a great question. My parents were not super tech savvy, though at the time it seemed like they were geniuses with the stuff they could do with the computer. Looking back, it couldn't have been like anything more than like a mid-range family computer. Like it was before Windows had that really nice GUI that you see
Windows
now. Like
98
it was before that. Yeah, exactly. And so before 98, there was like Windows, NT maybe, or NT may have even been like a variant of the Windows 2000 family line. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it doesn't matter. There was like these two options basically on the home screen, I guess you would call it now. Mm-hmm. One was like the programs that you installed, and one was like the system, like disk maintenance stuff on the other side. I just remember my parents saying like, you only ever type E at this screen, and E, I remember next to it just said games. And so if you go to E, you get games. Anything else, you might you might burn the house down. You don't know. Yeah. But E, Wolfenstein, it's
stick
all
to the games.
Yeah.
Oh man, good times. Yeah, no, I didn't get my first computer till I was I guess 12 years old. Would have been 2001, something like that. And then I mostly used it for typing out assignments for like grade 7 or grade 8.
Those are the days, man. I remember like thinking at the time how shitty it was that I had to use the computer to type homework out and not play games. I remember seeing like some of my friends get like gaming, maybe not gaming PCs, but like gaming capable hardware at the house for the first time. Mm-hmm. And we never had like a decent gaming computer, man. Actually, the laptop I'm using right now is like it's probably like maybe a mid-range gaming laptop I bought at Costco. It's the first one I've ever had. And I think the thing is so cool, But as soon as I go on like any gaming subreddit, like the specs are garbage, like it's shit. And that I have to just retreat back to my cocoon. Like, well, it plays Age of Empires really well. And then that's all I want. So
oh, nice. You're an Age of Empires fan, eh?
Big time, man. Who's not? That's a thinking man's game. Yes.
It's all the technologies and like the trees through which you advance, right? It's so mind blowing.
Ultimate rock, paper, scissors experience. People talk about like StarCraft and Warcraft 3, great games in their own right, for sure. But I would argue that if you came up, like you and I are about the same age. So I was born in 87. I think you said you're 12 and 01. So that makes you an 88 or 89. Yeah. So if you came up during that era, where you had Age of Empires, that was like the first game that had like a really, at least as far as I remember, had like a really burgeoning online community, which was sick. Mm-hmm. You could join like tribes and clans and stuff, and like you could put it in your name tag, and like you and your buddies who you'd never met could have been pedophiles, no idea. You're playing online with these guys like all the time on Friday, Saturday,
just getting
Sunday.
Catfished.
Yeah, you never know, right? Like if my parents knew the stuff we used to do, like making websites on GeoCities and all this stuff, and like playing in ladders. And I remember like begging my parents when we were kids, like, we got to get DSL. We can't use the 56K dial up because it's too laggy and I can't talk to my teammates on the phone. Like I had another buddy, like an IRL buddy who was like playing with me all the time. We used to want to talk on the phone during the game to coordinate, right? And we couldn't do it. And so my parents eventually came and got DSL. Anyway, none of this is related to fucking Bitcoin, but great memories all the same.
Yeah, no, we just got sidetracked with this computer talk. Well, it's funny, like, computers have come a long way. Now they're inventing money.
I know. Yeah, verifying blockchains and protecting the sovereignty of the individual. Man, it's an incredible time to be alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of like the most amazing thing about it, I guess, is, and I talked to Julian about this a little bit too, is just how like it can be a 5-year-old computer, something that's like, can't really do much of like what you'd use it for, like regular use now, like video, like editing videos, like anything like that. Say goodbye. Like that computer can't handle that, but it can handle as long as it's got the storage, which like it's super easy and cheap to get the storage.
How big is the blockchain, John? How big was your download? Did you get a pruned one or did you do the whole thing?
Full. It's between 400 and 500 gigs.
Beauty. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I have a terabyte of storage. It's about 500 gigs for the blockchain. I think it's expected to grow something like about 50 gigs a year.
There's some talk about like advancing the pruning tech around those initial downloads, because I think that's one thing that, when I think about why I Bitcoin and I'm not a guy who follows Ethereum or like cares what Ethereum price is and stuff like that. The big thing for me is that it's easy to distribute a network. That's like you mentioned, right? 5-year-old computer, whatever the case is, right? I'm sure there's guys running on older computers. I went to a meetup in Waterloo and there was a guy there who I won't dox, but he was basically showing a guy how to download the blockchain and, basically set up your own node on like a laptop that looked a lot older than 5 years old, man. And is a beautiful thing, because that laptop, like everyone around our age has like 1 or 2 computers sitting in their house doing nothing, right? The homework computer or the desktop or the office computer is not doing anything. Just set up a node on there. It doesn't take much. And once you take that first step, you mentioned some of the other software and hardware that you can use with it. It really opens up a lot of doors, right? Which is one thing that I'm guilty of not knowing enough about. I know Len, is like really into mining and the hardware side and the software side. Me, I prefer to talk about like the economics of Bitcoin and the economics and sort of the broader scope of things. But man, if I ever do get around to learning that stuff, one of the first things I'm going to do is, think about what having a node at home could do for me, because I don't have one. I think I might be the only guy that I know in the Bitcoin space that doesn't have one. It's one of the easier things to do, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
All right. Well, people in Joey's life who are looking for ideas for like birthday gifts, Christmas ideas.
Do not. You should be asking for my shirt size, my shoe size. Definitely not how many gigabytes the blockchain is. I'll do it on my own. Don't gift me that.
Oh, it's like if someone's got an old computer lying around they're not using, that sounds like a great idea to gift to you. Like here's a project, buddy.
Happy birthday, man. Yeah.
It's honestly so easy. Like I can send you the I said, like I'm learning command line interface, but I'm not really. I'm just following like these guides.
So which guide did you use? I was going to ask you that because there's a bunch of really good ones out there.
Yeah, Ministry of Nodes is definitely a must follow on YouTube. Ministry of Nodes. He's got a 2002 node box guide. It's perfect. He's got 16 videos, I believe, on there. They're all like some of the videos are a little bit outdated now in terms of like, because he uses certain websites to download things from, and the websites have changed, they've updated. So you have to do a little bit of digging around to be like, oh, it's probably like this here and that. But for the most part, it's just the super easiest walkthrough, and like, it just works.
You just had that guy on, did you not?
No, Ministry of Nodes.
I thought I saw on your channel. I was looking at your channel the other day, and I thought I saw that you maybe just in the title of one of the videos.
Yeah. That was it. That was just me talking about it. It just, No, I didn't actually have him on. I just put the title on there as like a way to like, as to what I was actually talking about in the episode. Nice.
I do want to try it. I know like we talk a lot with BTC Sessions, who's like a good friend of the show, and man, like his content's unbelievable. He just did a video on the cold card Mark IV. And so
definitely use that.
Did you watch the video?
Oh yeah.
So I have one. CoinKite was nice enough to like give me and Len a cold card, and I haven't set it up yet, but I was gonna make a video just like, because people I think want to see like how the thing looks, how the thing feels, how the thing works. And then Ben put one out, and it's like 2 hours long. And I messaged him. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? Like I was gonna put out like a 5-minute video and like blank out half the video because it's probably about your private key and whatever like on the screen. And you're doing 2 hours. And he's saying like, that the first 15 minutes, everyone's got to watch. It's like a 15-minute setup basically. But that last hour and 45 is spoofing the wallet, anti-theft measures, syncing to your own node, all this other stuff, right? There's some other features I think you get with a micro SD card. So I bought a micro SD card. And again, like I'm not like the busiest guy in the world, but I haven't had time to do this stuff yet. One of these days I'm going to sit down and do it. My wife's actually away next weekend on a girls trip. So I think maybe next weekend I'll sit down. Yeah. I got a couple of Domino's rewards pizzas coming my way whenever I'm ready to have those. So maybe I'll get 1 or 2 of those and make a few videos. That sounds like a good weekend or what? Sounds like a good weekend in my head.
Dude, watch that 2 hours video from BTC Sessions, and then just pick out like little things.
I love Ben, but I am not fucking watching him for 2 hours.
Just put it on 2x speed. Like that's what I don't watch anything at regular speed anymore. Like,
you know what a recipe? That's a recipe for losing all your fucking Bitcoin. Putting together a hardware wallet on 2x speed and then wondering where did that go wrong here? Where's all my coin, man?
Oh man. Well, yeah. If you don't trust yourself, then that's not a good advice. But
couldn't do it.
I've been watching videos on 2x speed for so long now. I can't go back.
Are you a 2x podcast guy too? Like I get like 1 million podcasts in my feed. Here, I'll show you. Let me see what I got in the feed here. But like I have been a 1.15 guy. Like it's just all garbage. It's all just garbage in, garbage out. And like, it's just like white noise. And I listen to stuff at like 1.2 speed now. And I don't think I'll ever go back, John. I can't go back. The only thing I listen to at regular speed is French language podcasts because I'm trying to learn how to speak French. I can't listen to that stuff fast. It already sounds like it's 1.2 speed on normal, but everything else, like I listen to the other shows now on flat speed, like after I update the app or something like that. And it sounds like the guy or girl is like drunk.
They're like, it's so funny.
Welcome to another episode. Like, holy shit, man. I can't believe people talk this way. I can't believe it. It's probably affecting you and me. People probably listen to this interview. They're like, these guys are fucking ripping the fucking talking here. Everything's on 1.2.
No. 100% when I hear myself speak, I'm like, who is this idiot? I need to like speed this up to be able to like keep up, like help him keep up with like how fast I'm thinking. But yeah, if I'm trying to absorb something, I definitely slow it down to 1.5, 1.25. But if it's just an entertainment like podcast, then yeah, 2x like all the way.
Slow it down to 1.5. Oh my God. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's fucking fast.
Anyways, we got sidetracked again. It's kind of easy to get sidetracked talking to you. That's all right.
Many good conversations to be had.
Yeah, I mean that as a compliment. Let's get back to Bitcoin in a way. We're talking about how like I kind of wanted to ask, like, how did you get into Bitcoin? There's an entry point you were talking about that I thought would have been good, but I can't remember it now. Let's just get to the question without the segue.
Yeah, man, happy to. So I got into Bitcoin in 2017. I had a friend of mine who, him and I used to talk about it at work. He's a colleague of Len and I. Mm-hmm. And
all right, I remembered. You were saying you're like a much more economically driven. That's kind of what the stuff you care about.
Yeah. We used to talk about investing a lot. We were part of, I think, that wave of investors, maybe 2013, 14, with the weed stocks in Canada. It was big in Canada. I don't know if it was big in the States too, but it was big in Canada. And you probably had friends that were in that craze too. Maybe you were one of them. I don't know.
I wasn't one of them, but I definitely have a friend who hit it big.
That's when a lot of people learned, right? Like how to open up their own stock investment portfolio and how to do their own TFSA and all that stuff. That was around the same time that a lot of those apps that people use now started to come to maturity, both in, feature availability and in user interface. You couldn't get Wealthsimple in 2013, but in 15, 16, you started to see it pop up more and more, right? It became a more reputable thing to have on your phone and to use.
And Questrade, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And so these sort of virtual first apps became primary investing vehicles for a lot of people in our age demographic. So we started doing all that stuff in maybe 2013, 14. We knew about Bitcoin, but we didn't know how to buy. And there was no options for Canadians to buy at that time. I only realized how to buy when I saw a guy on Twitter who was a friend of an ex-girlfriend tweeting about Bitcoin. And I DM'd him. I said, yo, man, like, how are you buying? And he told me about Coinbase. And he's like, it says it won't work in Canada, but it actually does. You can connect like a TD or it was TD or RBC or TD or TD or CIBC. You could connect those accounts and do the withdrawals for buys. And so we started doing it. And before I knew it, we were buying Bitcoin on Coinbase. Now it was only like a month of buying Bitcoin, maybe 2 months buying Bitcoin before the price ran up to 20K, and we were pumped as all hell with our $1,000 worth of Bitcoin
for 30 seconds.
Yeah, not even. Didn't even feel like that. Like it was that long. Honestly, it was 30 seconds of euphoria followed by months of disappointment. Like probably like a lot of relationships out there. So
yeah. Well, now it's at 20K for a long time. There you go.
I know. It's funny, man. Like when I did a show last year, the Why Bitcoin podcast with another Canadian guy and his American counterpart. And we were laughing about how, the price of Bitcoin was up near 30, 40, 50K. And they're like, man, it's buying a 20K sounds so good now. And like, there's a lot of people, John, who said that over the last year. Where are those people?
They're not buying anymore.
If they were buying, the price wouldn't be 20K still. But all those people are going, I'll wait until 17. I'll wait until 15.
Yeah, 13,
I'll wait until 10.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Get out of here. Yeah.
Well, do you really think that these guys who, missed on 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 all the way up, and then, maybe bought all the way down or didn't buy all the way down, who knows? Do you really think these guys have the chops to time the market? It's very difficult to do that. And so that was another thing that we decided on pretty early when we were exposed to Bitcoin. Len and I got in around the same time, along with our other buddy, that we're just not going to sell. Like, I don't know enough about this to say that this is done. First of all, when it went from 20 to 3 or whatever it went to, I'm pretty sure 3,000. So we don't know enough about it to sell. And also Coinbase wouldn't let us sell anyway. So our hands were tied. So what are we going to do? Let's listen to some podcasts. Let's talk about it at the lunch table. And we took, man, John, like the number of times we got absolutely crucified at the lunch table for buying Bitcoin at $3,000. Like I honestly couldn't tell you the number of times we got absolutely raked over the coals from everyone, like our peers, supervisors. Like I remember going to like meetings and having guys going like, "Yo, are you still buying Bitcoin?" Like, oh my, how the fuck did you know about that? You're not supposed to know about that. People are talking about this all over the building. Man. And but now, here we are. Things are going okay. 20K is 20K. The macro environment is not really lending itself to a friendly Bitcoin price. But John,
to any price, like what's the price of anything? You
know what I mean? That's what I mean. If my house was the only house on fire on the block, then I would have a different outlook. But the entire street is burning, man. Yeah. So I'm okay with the price where it is. And I think that if you look at the macro environment, you're seeing sort of the paper and printing ecosystems of fiat economies butting up against the reality of physical demand and shortage in energy, in housing, in real estate, in all manner of things. And
goods, just goods, like
and so I feel pretty
commodities.
good about exactly. And so I feel pretty good about where Bitcoin is. If you look at the currencies that have done the best against this sort of backdrop, almost unbelievably, Canada's currency has fared pretty well. And so of the other,
we're an oil-rich country, right?
Exactly. Commodity-rich countries, energy-rich countries doing okay. And, I think Bitcoin's got a really nice synergy with that ecosystem. I feel pretty good about buying at these prices, any prices really, but I feel pretty good about the future of the asset for sure.
Oh yeah. Like, not to sound like a typical Bitcoiner, but I hope this price action continues for a while.
Sideways shop is your friend, man. And it's, you look back on these times. Len and I talk all the time about, like, when we're talking about the number of plays on the show, or when we're talking to potential advertisers, like, we always say the same thing. The show is, it's a derivative of the Bitcoin price, right? The number of plays the show gets is a derivative of the Bitcoin price. There's no doubt. The show grows every month, which is great, but it was growing a lot faster when the price was 70K, no doubt about that. That line used to be going like this. Now it's like a little bit more shallow, right? But I think that this is where, much the same way that if you're an individual investor, you're consolidating your knowledge base, you're consolidating your understanding of the asset. You're really cutting your teeth, as it were, right? If you're a content guy, or if you're a guy who's thinking about getting in, I think you're really finding out where the communities are, where the best places to spend your time are, who the best people to talk to are. All those things are valuable in a way that I think many people in the space understand, and those outside the space will understand in time, right? So I'm like you said, happy to get these prices.
And then what you're saying is super important, because we need like these communities to be there for people to educate them about what's going on. Because like, I had the opportunity to get into Bitcoin in 2012, 2017, like I knew about it from Silk Road days. And then I knew about it like in 2014, like when Andreas and Antonopoulos was on JRE, and I was like, this sounds amazing. Like, I want to get into this. And then I actually went to a Bitcoin meetup, and then at this Bitcoin meetup, people were talking about how Bitcoin Cash is happening, and there's going to be BSV like next month. And I was like, oh my God. Oh, sorry about that.
You went to a Bitcoin meetup in 2012, 2013, 2014?
Not yet. Just yeah. And like, because of the whole like fork situation, it really pushed me off of it. And I was like, oh, like, this is, I was ready to like really jump in and like learn about it more and like get invested financially, like, but I just got scared with the whole fork situation.
It was the intimidation of the sort of tech side. Yeah. It's difficult to comprehend what all this stuff means.
Yeah. Cause then
it's still gonna be valuable.
Yeah. Like, then which one do I pick? Which one's going to be the one? Right. Like,
right.
And then there's a third one going to be happening. Like, what are you talking about? And then I got to learn all this other stuff. Like, I had just like spent all this time learning about the original Bitcoin. Now I had to do all this extra homework to figure out like about two more.
So think about this, right? If you joined up in the Bitcoin, I say joined up, if you became exposed for the first time to Bitcoin in 2014, 15 or before, where were the signals for you to find the community that you've found today, right? Where were the podcasts? Where were the tweets? Even Twitter was barely a mature ecosystem 10 years ago. So you couldn't, short of being on like the Bitcoin dev mailing list or being in these message boards, it was impossible to find good signal. And worse, one of the things I really think benefited me, and I suspect has benefited you as well, is having a good core group of friends who aren't afraid to speak honestly about where the scams are, how to avoid mistakes, things like that. Things that many people who are opposed to the Bitcoin mission would now call toxic maximalism really benefited a lot of people, right? In the early days and continue to benefit them in my view. And so I think, now for new Bitcoiners, John, they'll hear this show, they'll hear my show, they'll hear your show. Julian's got a YouTube channel that's doing really well. They can go to Kinetic Finance. You can go to the Shakepay channel, BTC sessions. Ledin's community guy, Mario, is a good friend of our show. He's everywhere, right? These guys are everywhere putting out signal.
By the way, I appreciated Mario coming on your podcast recently to talk about Ledin and like where they're getting their yields.
He's great, man.
That actually like I have like a small chunk on Leda and
same.
And
we
like,
all do.
It like it feels a lot better having him come out and talk about it, like
those guys
like outwardly, while like, you know, BlockFi and Voyager
BlockFi is getting blown up,
and Celsius is getting,
they're blowing up. And I said on the show that we did the day after, or a couple of days after that, you know, the difference between good companies, you know, what we've been talking about tonight, signal, right? Finding good companies, good people, good communities, all that stuff, is the difference between good companies and bad companies, between ships that can steady themselves during tumultuous times and ships that go down at the first bit of wind, is really the following, right? Mario comes on our show, representing Ledin, and talks about where they get their yield, talks about all the benefits of having a little bit of Bitcoin on Ledin, talks about proof of reserves, talks about how, you know, he asked me after the show, he's like, I forgot to mention, we're actually hiring while everyone else is laying people off. That's what he's doing, right? And then he's he went on over a European vacation, like 3 or 4 days after that show.
Yeah, so I'm tweeting about being in Milan.
You know what I mean? And meanwhile, on the other side of the street, you got BlockFi, and BlockFi is having their public relations, you know, these sort of nameless, faceless Reddit user lackeys posting Zach Prince's apology / ransom note on Reddit, basically begging people not to take their assets out in the middle of the fucking night on Thursday or Friday night. Now, do you think Mario, when he goes on a European jaunt, okay, do you think he's concerned that Adam and Maurizio are going to call him at 7 a.m. Eastern, God knows what fucking time it is where he is, and go, hey, Mario, do you mind cutting your vacation a bit short? Head to an internet cafe, okay, and sign into your Reddit account, because we're about to rug pull a bunch of our users to the tune of about $200 million. We're going to halt withdrawals, and we don't really want to tell them in those words. Can you write something for us? That's the difference, right? Mario's getting a tan. These other guys are posting bullshit on Reddit for people who are trying to get their money out. God knows how much of their net worth is in there. Man, that's why you got to be careful. That's why you got to be careful.
Yeah. There's definitely do some research. Like I did for a long time. I hesitated putting any money on BlockFi, and then eventually, like after like, I think waiting some time and being patient and kind of, you know, seeing that like the company was doing okay. I had put some Bitcoin on there, you know, was it interest savings account or whatever.
Right.
But then very quickly I realized, their percentages are going down lower and lower and lower. And I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. They're probably just like aren't able to, you know, earn money the same way as they used to. So they're, you know, providing less yield. So I slowly started taking some off the table because I'm not getting a good yield anyway. And then eventually had all of it off. And then the news starts coming out, like Celsius is going down. All these other companies are going down. I'm like, holy crap. Like, good thing I have my stuff off. And then I reach out to my dad. I'm like, Dad, let's get everything off of that.
Get it off. So your dad's into Bitcoin too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been successful in orange pilling my family, my like close family. In terms of friends, like I'm the only one.
How successful? Okay. Let me stop you there, okay? Because people say this all the time. They've successfully orange pilled their family. I don't fucking believe you. Here's what I think actually happened. I think people got tired of hearing you badger them at Thanksgiving, and finally were just like, "Here's $1,000. Like, where do I put it? Where my Shakepay account, my Coinbase account? Like, is that it? Do they actually understand?
Like
do they shake your hand at Christmas and say everything divided by 21 million? Like, where are they on this?
My family, like, so we only like got serious about Bitcoin from the start of the pandemic, myself personally. And then after that, like my family, once I talked to them about it. So we haven't been in it for very long. Like we saw the meteoric rise and then the crash that followed. But we come from the Soviet Union. Like I'm Armenian, born in Armenia. Like I said, I came here in like the November of 2000. And so our country broke from the Soviet Republic and then went through like wars. And it's been through like a lot of tumultuous times where like we've seen the currency and like the wealth of the country like basically disappear due to like all the same reasons that are currently happening in the rest of the world, frankly. So like there's a lot of experience and understanding as to what can like what is possible out there. Like that's part of the main thing is like why a lot of friends don't really get Bitcoin is like they just don't see what's possible out there. Like what they're like that could never happen in Canada. You know, that's always the number one.
It's already
response.
happening. Like, isn't it true? Isn't it true that you look at these videos and pictures overseas of, you know, there's obviously a few what I would call like frontier markets that are having this problem. You might expect this in a frontier market or sort of a country that falls under the EM category. But if you look at like these other, like China having people storming banks looking for their deposits.
Yeah, I saw that recently.
You know, John, like if that happened here, if everyone went to the bank and tried to get their money out, like what would happen? It'd be the same thing. Like, oh, we don't have it. We don't have any cash. Oh, it's all digital. Well, I want cash. Well, we don't have it. Okay, well, fucking now what? Like, you know, now we're on the news, right? And there's a great quote. I don't remember who said it, but you know, even the most civilized society is only about 9 missed meals away from total chaos. You know, that's all it takes. Just a couple of days. You go to the store. One day there's no meat. Go the next day, there's no meat. Day after that, there's no meat. Start thinking about it. Before you know it, you know, your attitude, you can't tell me that after COVID now in a country that's as civilized as Canada, that when you go to the store, you know, 2 weeks in a row and see there's very, very little meat on the shelf, you cannot tell me that you're not starting to think in a way that you were not thinking 2 years ago. There is just zero chance of this. There's too many stories, too many videos, too many all sorts of, you know, you can pick your terminology, but the unrest is accelerating all over the planet, and you're only as good as the weakest link in your chain. And there's a lot of weak links in our chain right now. So I you know, not to be a doomer, gloomer, prepper type, but certainly there's some value in thinking about Bitcoin, like you mentioned, through the lens of you never know what could happen here. Just because it hasn't happened already doesn't mean it's a guarantee of the future, right? So
yeah. I joined in one of your guys' podcasts with you and Len. You guys are talking about having some food ready, having some meat in the freezer kind of ready, whatever, buy some non-perishables, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think I generally agree with that sentiment. It's kind of
dicey times, man. Dicey times.
It's hard to even say it out loud. Like it surprises you to hear yourself say it, but like this is the times we live in. Think about
people in like, you know, these places like California, okay? And they're not, you know, hard up for food or anything like that, John, but in California, there's places in the city, in cities in California where you can't leave your home or can't leave your car alone or can't eat at a restaurant or can't go shopping without someone either, you know, robbing you, harassing you, masturbating onto you, dropping a drug paraphernalia item near you.
Yeah, defecation, anything.
It is incredible. This is the collapse of the American empire in real time. Meanwhile, you know, we joked about this on the show the other day that, you know, Biden's presidency has been, you know, it's really been a total disaster. I'm conservative, so I got a bit of a slant here, I'll admit. But you know, when you get a first world president from, you know, the self-proclaimed sort
leader of the free world,
beacon of truth and freedom on the planet, exactly. And the White House is tweeting these photos as a, you know, trying to really claim a win of military planes that brought back baby formula for the American public.
They airlifted it.
That's an L. That's an L, man.
Big time,
that's not a dub. But these guys are flossing it like it's a win.
Dude.
And who's that for, John? Is that for? It's not for you. It's not for me. It's not for anyone.
I don't know.
That I think about that bell curve meme with like the idiot on the one side, the midwit guy who talks too much, thinks too much, and the Jedi on the other side. I just think like there cannot be this many people in the middle, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I used to think that too, but I keep being proven year over year. So
I know. Every time there's an election, I'm always wrong. I don't know, man. I find that everyone else finds out later they were wrong, but it seems to me every time everyone goes to the ballot, I'm the one that's wrong. What's going on? Something's got to give here, man. We need help.
Yeah. When I was a kid in school, we learned about the Berlin airlift. That's when America brought like chocolate and luxuries to Berlin to West Berlin because the Soviet Union was blockading them. And now we've come full circle, and the leader of the free world is the one airlifting things in.
Unreal. We got Biden taking pictures of the baby formula on a military like aircraft, and on the other side of the coin, you got Pelosi shutting down the Pelosi Trade Tracker account on Twitter because she doesn't want people knowing what her drunk husband is doing in his puts and call portfolio. Like, I just, man, talk about decline. Like, this is about as steep as it gets, man. It's entertaining, but it's entertaining in the same way that like anything with a terrible ending that you know is coming is entertaining. You know, it's only fun for so long.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you can't look away, kind of one of those situations.
Yeah.
Let's get back to Bitcoin a little bit. Be the whole podcast.
It's all related, man. It's all related.
So what was the kind of stuff? Well, first of all, like, was it a friend that told you about Bitcoin, or how did you specifically come across it? Were you the first person in your group to know about Bitcoin?
I honestly couldn't tell you, John. It was either me or my buddy from work. But I think that we probably both saw it similar places, right? These stories, looking back, given that now I've had some experience with what the media reports on, when the price moves by 80% in 6 months or 90% in 6 months, I probably saw it in one of these stories on Wired or Gizmodo or one of these like publications that people just waste their time reading. I was guilty of this too for a long time. Yeah. And I probably saw it there and just disregarded it, saw it, forgot about it, mentioned it and didn't follow up or whatever. And then one day, you know, once we had that bug for investing, everybody wants to get rich. Everyone gets in. I don't believe a single person has gotten into Bitcoin for anything but number go up. I guarantee that's the case. And so we were probably the same way. And I do remember meeting with I have an investment manager that I very rarely use nowadays, but I did when I was, you know, maybe 26, 27. And I remember going to her and asking about it, and she dismissed it offhand. That's really the first thing that I remember thinking, that was really quick, the way she told me that this is a waste of time. I don't know if she's right, but that's a really strong opinion to have about something that barely anyone knows about. You know, it seems unnatural to have that opinion. And so I think that was the first time it stuck around, right?
Yeah. Quick story related to that. I met this person who like revealed herself to be a banker. She works at a bank. I was like, oh, perfect. Let me talk to you about something that you're going to love. So I'm like, what do you know about Bitcoin? She's like, I don't know much, but I think it should be regulated. Like, that was her.
The default position, right? Yeah. Like, come on, get out of here with that.
I was like, oh man, we couldn't even agree on a definition of money. Her only definition of money was a medium of exchange. I was like,
John, these people don't know what it is, John. They don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're bankers. They're only bankers. That's only their whole job.
Their job is not to know. Their job is not to know. The whole thing about, you know, modern finance, and it's not just finance that has this problem. I think it's real estate and other things as well. But like this intentional obfuscation of simple to understand mechanisms, terminology, stuff like this. It's meant to keep guys like you and me on the outside looking in, reliant on this, like, you know, monolithic understanding that's completely inaccessible to the average person. Oh, you can't invest on your own. You never know. Well, simple. Oh, I wouldn't do that. Definitely come to the bank. Oh, can I just buy my own ETFs? No, you got to get the mutual fund. There's only a bit of a scalp on every buy, every sell, and we take a fee, but don't worry about it. It's safer. It's safer. Everyone's always selling,
whether it goes up or down too.
They're all just selling safety, man. And once everyone started to realize, like, hang on a minute, this isn't safe at all. Like, you guys you're stealing money from me here. Like, I'm losing money off the top on everything that I buy with you guys. It became more obvious in the last 10 years because pensions and other sort of, you know, vehicles geared toward fixed income demographics started to, maybe fail's too strong word, but they started to have problems keeping up. You know, you're a guy that's into fitness. Maybe we can talk about this body weight squat thing, which I have.
Yeah. That was going to be my final finisher.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So maybe we'll talk about that, but like, you're into fitness, you know, in the fitness and health industry, what have we seen in the last 50 years? We've seen an incredible number of not breakthroughs, but like lifestyle changes that have been really easy to adopt by a huge number of people that have really extended the lifespan of a lot of people who used to live till 60 working and then die at 70. It just doesn't happen anymore. The people who retire at 60 live lives that are more balanced with less vice, more moderation, more physical activity. They consider all these things. And so pensions, were a really great idea by governments because it really is a smooth Ponzi scheme, right? When you only have to give people 10 years of income after they pay you for 50, you're doing okay. Yeah. But as soon as you guys start giving people 40 after they pay you for 50, guess what? You got a bit of an issue on your hands, right? And demographics change and all these things. And so you end up with these problems. And that's, I think, when people started to realize, like, holy shit, I can't give you $50 every 2 weeks on the buy side. I can't give you $100 every month. I can't give you 10% when I withdraw on retirement. I can't give you 15% when I can't do it. I need it because I'm living 30 more years. And so now you got these people who really gave their whole lives to the industrial complex, the unlimited growth Keynesian economy. And what are they getting on the back end? They're getting grocery stores where they can't afford the fucking food. They're getting grocery stores where there's no food on the shelf, and they're getting a part-time job at 65. That's what they're getting. Thanks for your service, man. It ain't fair. It ain't fair.
Well, we don't have the empty grocery stores yet, but I mean, knock on wood, that doesn't.
They're empty more now than they were 2 years ago.
Fair enough. Every like surprisingly often I will find empty shelves.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Just like, why?
These guys at my grocery store the other day, Fortino's in Hamilton, where I live, there was a sign on the fridge where I buy my homogenized milk. I only drink 3.25%. I refuse to drink anything less. If I can see, John, if you put cereal in the bowl and you can see the bottom of the bowl through the milk, that ain't milk. No, that ain't milk. No. Okay. You got to get at least 3.25. I wish you can get higher than that here, but I think it's only in Quebec you can get it.
I'm all homo milk.
It's the best. It's the absolute best. And so I go to the fridge here and it says, due to the Rogers outage, we're not going to have milk for a few days. What are they? Are they texting it to you? What do you mean? Why are you not going to have milk for a few days?
The drivers got lost without the GPS.
It's excuse after excuse, man. Like, what are we talking about here? Just ship the fucking milk. And what was Rogers wasn't out last week? Wasn't out last month? Wasn't out 2 months ago when you guys were short on milk then? Anyway, it's ridiculous, man. The point, I'll let you get to your next question. But the point we should be making here is that you're in an ecosystem and environment where things are showing cracks for the first time in a long time. Ignoring them is a bad idea. Preparing for them is what you should be doing.
100%. No, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely like, it's funny. We're kind of like, the more we talk, the more we're sounding like preppers, but like, that's not what I want to be. It's not, it's just like, it's a logical reaction to what I'm seeing. Like, I don't want to be prepping. I don't want to be like this person who's like all doom and gloom. I'm just seeing what I'm seeing and I'm responding with logic and reason. If I'm not, right. I mean, I'd love for someone to tap me on the shoulder and tell me I'm crazy, please. My next question was going to be related to like, okay, so when you got into Bitcoin, you had the euphoric run up, and then the crash happened, and then of course you said, that's the best time to like study up and like upgrade your knowledge on Bitcoin. So what was that first bear market like for you? Like, how did you upgrade your knowledge? Like, what did you learn? And then what was it that made you like convinced that like this is something that you want to be in long term?
Man, where do you even start with that? Great question that not enough people ask. What was the learning experience like, and what does sort of doing your own research look like? It's a number of things. It was, for me, podcasts. I've been a big podcast guy for a long time. I was a listener to Tales from the Crypt when it was Marty talking honest to God through what sounded like a fucking styrofoam cup with a string attached to the other end of the, you know what I mean? Like terrible quality. There's some pictures of them from the early days where like they're in, I think his like Manhattan apartment with like a shitty like handheld recorder with their guests, and like Matt and Marty used to share a mic and the guests would get their own mic. So like it was like a luxury experience for the guests. Yeah. Really good stuff.
So there was TFTC, great podcast. Like
it's one of the best in the space, if not the best in the space. Consistently honest, consistently introspective, and always addressing the topics that are important to Bitcoiners. I think whether it's health or fitness or family or money or whatever. They're always doing a good job over there. And so that was a big one.
Of Bitcoin specifically, were you getting into? Was there like part of it that was like more interesting? I wanted
to know about governance. That was my big thing, because when I first learned about Bitcoin, the thing that every Bitcoiner will tell you first and foremost is, at least in my experience, this is what I found, is fixed supply.
Yep.
Okay.
That's very important.
Fixed supply is important if it stays fixed. One thing that I have learned over many years of being on governance boards, dealing with, colleagues in my professional life, everything is a certain way until there's enough momentum to change it. And so far we've been fortunate, but at the time, one of the things I really dove into was this idea that the core developers were so set on the 21 million cap, even as at that time, and FUD repeats itself, so this is not anything new for people who were not around at that time, even as talk of lost coins continued to come up, even as talk of forks and new tokens continued to come up, this sort of the idea of diluting the crypto available, right, with new tokens and new forks and all that. Nothing is scarce. We're just adding new stuff, which is obviously bullshit. But at the time, you have to learn that. That's an important lesson you have to pick up pretty quickly. Otherwise, you'll fall into some of these scams. The other thing that really I wanted to learn about was the inelasticity of supply, which is huge. I mean, the thing that gold has going for it, I don't know if the G word is a bad word on this podcast, but I'm going to use it anyway.
It's fine.
the thing that gold has going for it.
I'm Armenian, like Armenian.
Yeah, I know. I'm Italian, so I mean, yeah. You never know. Who knows? I could have gold behind these walls, probably. So one of the things I liked about gold was that even though the supply is not purely inelastic, it's inelastic enough that you can't just pull forward supply based on demand. There's too much capital to be invested, too much exploration involved, all these different things, right? A number of different mechanisms that force supply to remain more or less static, even in the face of an avalanche of demand, which is the important thing. When I started to find out about this difficulty adjustment mechanism,
it's amazing.
Man, John, that's really the thing that had me sticking around, because that's the thing that when I tell people about Bitcoin, well, it's 21 million. Well, it might not be. Well, it's this. Well, it might not be. And now you're starting to see a little bit of conversation on Twitter from people I would view as maximalism.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Maximalists about tail emission and stuff like that.
Yeah. Tail emission. What kind of garbage is this?
This is for them to discuss. I personally will not engage in this discussion unless something changes dramatically. There's just no need for this, in my view. The divisibility is enough. But that's a story for another time. The inelasticity of supply and that difficulty adjustment mechanism is groundbreaking. And you really, if you weren't sure it was groundbreaking before, you're going to be sure after you tell someone who understands why gold works and understands why that sort of thing is important. When you tell them that it's coded in, it's every X number of blocks, and it's if the block hasn't been found yet, do you know how long the next block should take to find? Like, do you know the answer to that question? Have you heard this?
10 minutes.
It's always 10 minutes, right? And so when you explain this to people that it's not 10, it's 10 minutes on average, but if it hasn't been found, it should take another 10 minutes to find it, basically. Like when you explain that to people, they're like, oh my God. So it's never changed. It's never changed. And even if it did change, not enough people would adopt it. There's too many people that are involved in this now that appreciate the simplicity and the sort of steadfastness of that system. Once you learn about those two things, that hard cap and the defense of the hard cap with things like the difficulty adjustment, it's too pretty to leave alone, man. And when the other thing I think that people should start paying attention to if they're not already, and something that I picked up on years ago that I still sometimes talk about on Twitter now. When you look at these tokens like Ethereum, for example, easiest one to pick on, right? That's the main competitor. So yeah, that's the pretty girl at the party, right? So let's pick on her a little bit. When you look at Ethereum, these guys are doing things that are synthetic versions of what Bitcoin has always been. Token burn, different ways to scale back the total supply, to increase scarcity. We had this, and I say we there, I almost feel dirty saying we because I'm such a late joiner, but Bitcoin has had this since the beginning, man. We had this figured out early, and you guys wanted to branch off and start this other thing in your unicorn onesie pajamas. And instead you ended up having to crawl back here with your tail between your legs with this sort of, this fake addition to mirror what we already had. It's really an indictment of the quality of people that start these other tokens. And, on top of that, John, of course, what is the other thing everyone likes? Who's the inventor of Bitcoin? No one knows.
Exactly.
It's not replicable, which is unbelievable.
There's the true decentralization, And I think just to pull back on what you're saying, like regarding Ethereum, just to maybe put it into my own words, it's like Bitcoin had a capped supply, 21 million, that people thought was very important. And then Ethereum's initial choice in the design of that blockchain was like, forget the capped supply. We're not doing that anymore. And then lo and behold, they realized, we have too much ETH circulating and we need a way of scaling back so that we can get some of that scarcity feature back. Okay, you just did a roundabout way that no longer works well on what Bitcoin's already doing. So I think that's what you were saying. It's good to repeat these things sometimes because a lot of my listeners will have a hard time understanding some of these things if they're not deep Bitcoiners,
This is why the work you're doing is important, right? Because you're reaching out to people who are interested in this sort of thing and don't know potentially where to go, how to avoid, finding the wrong information. And so, man, like repeating things in your own words, putting things in layman's terms, super important in Bitcoin and getting more important by the day as more and more scam podcasts looking at you, Pomp, continue to propagate the free airwaves. Stay away.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about Pomp. I feel like Pomp was like very helpful in orange, like completing my orange pill, but then I don't say anyway. I think I'm going to leave that alone. I'll just say he was he was good at completing my orange pilling, but then I have mixed feelings now. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, I've lost my train of thought. I got sidetracked with that Pomp thing. You know what? Yeah, talking about like layman's terms. Let's. I'll use a phrase I've noticed you like to say a lot, which I also like to say a lot too. Let's pull the thread on this a little bit.
I love that.
The difficulty adjustment.
The difficulty adjustment. Yeah, sure. We can talk about that.
Let's talk about this because we can say the difficulty adjustment and someone can hear it, but like if we don't actually like try to really get into like why it's important, it might not really sink. So like why the difficulty adjustment is important is for the same reason why like we it's similar to the reason why we value. You know what? No, I lost my train of thought. Let's talk about let's take a step back. Let's talk about gold. If for some reason, I think we saw in the news actually, there was like somebody found a whole bunch of gold that could like double the world's like
very recently,
total supply of gold out there, right? So if that's true, and there a bunch of miners go to this location and are able to extract a ton of gold from there, now they have a lot of gold that they can dump on the market, and that'll bring the price of gold down. True? Like that's I don't think that can be refuted, right? Like that makes sense. That logical.
I am 100% in agreement with you, sir. Yeah.
Right. So that can't happen with Bitcoin, right? And why is that? Well, how? Like then it's the question is like, how is Bitcoin made first, right? Like, why can't that happen? Because of the way that Bitcoin's made. How is Bitcoin made? Well, there's a block reward every 10 minutes that creates new Bitcoin. Right. What the hell is a block reward?
You can always strip it down to something more simple, right? Like I found that.
Figure out how to dumb this down.
I think between the two of us, we should be able to figure this out.
Yeah,
so
I'm definitely adding more than 50% of the dumbing.
we gotta be able to do this. We when we talk to our families, I think about people older than me for sure. I have to strip down a lot of the terminology. It's easier to understand this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I like to say is there's a bit of code. Okay, we'll call that Bitcoin. That's Bitcoin code. Mm-hmm. The Bitcoin code asks machines who are trying to produce Bitcoin to guess at a number. That's all it is. This is like sort of misconstrued idea of incredibly difficult math problems and all this. They're just guessing numbers. Okay. The machines are guessing numbers. If there's two machines guessing the number, okay, then the number is going to be guessed at X speed. Let's say it takes them 8 minutes. Okay. The two machines take 8 minutes. The people who own the machines look at two things. They look at, one, how much did it cost to run the machine for that 8 minutes, right? That's the important thing. And two, how much was the Bitcoin that they got from the code worth at the time that they won that contest? Then they decide on the next step. The code runs back the same equation again, or same question, similar question again. And the guys who run the machines have to decide if they want to try with more machines to get it, less machines to get it, same amount of machines to get it. And they got to think about what the coin is worth and make that decision. That's fine. Every 2 weeks, the code decides whether or not the question needs to get harder or easier. The only thing the code is thinking about is how close to 10 minutes are these machines taking to get the number. If it's too quick, it makes it harder. If it's too easy, or if it's too hard, it makes it easier. Then the machine guys have to do the same calculation again. They got to think, do I want to put more machines on or less machines on? Then the thing that I tell people next is, now you got to consider, once you got 1,000 machines, how are you getting your power for the machines? What's the power cost you? Do you get power better at certain times a day, certain times of night? Now think about if there's
certain
a
sources
bunch of people.
Of power.
Exactly, different sources. Now think about if there's 1,000 people, each with 1,000 machines. Some of them are running their machines at night on the other side of the world while you're running yours during the day. Some of them have political instability. Some of them have this, some of them have that. Some of them are on oil fields. Some of them are by wind turbines, other, many different varieties of machine guy, okay, on the network. And all the code is doing is deciding how close it is to 10 minutes and whether the question needs to get easier or harder in 2 weeks. And that's it. There's nothing else to it. It's very simple. And when you tell people that, they really appreciate that, because when you strip it down like that, like John, does anyone really need to know what the difference between an S9 and an S19 is? What the difference between an S19 that's running in Texas and one that's submerged in cooling liquid in Quebec is? No one needs to know that.
Yeah, you're talking about different models of mining machines.
No one needs to know that stuff. Exactly. They don't need to know how loud they are. They don't need to know that no matter how much I ask, my wife will never let me get one. They don't need to know about these things. But what they do need to know is
super cheap
every
now,
10
man.
minutes.
Show her the prices.
Man, did you see Len got one, obviously. The thing is coming in his garage. Yeah, it's great. He got an S9. He got an S9.
Yeah.
Like
I saw that. I saw the video. I saw that was like one. Yeah. That's great. That's awesome.
I got to get, maybe the lesson is
S9s are no longer profitable. That's the problem.
They're not profitable now, but in 10 years, you're going to like those sats. Believe me.
Yeah. I mean, you could just spend that money on the power to just purchase.
What's the KYC worth? What's the KYC worth to you? A story for another time.
It depends on how well you run your network and system that you're actually keeping a KYC.
That's true. You're right about that. Yeah,
you got to
right
think it through.
But okay, but to your point about the difficulty adjustment, how to strip it down for someone, I think that's how you do it. No matter what goes on, no matter what external factors are going on, no matter how many people put on, if everyone's got 1,000 machines and one guy decides he wants to put on 1 million machines, he's only going to get the sweet deal for 2 weeks. And then he ain't going to get it anymore. And when he doesn't get it, the 1,000 machine guys have the same chance as the 1 million machine guy, and the difficulty is going to change. And it's all incentive based, right? That's the beautiful thing about Bitcoin.
Yeah, I love that as well, is that the incentives of the multiple participants are aligned. And then with aligned incentives, it's more likely that you're headed for a common good rather than someone screwing over somebody else. Now, like one thing is I am able to understand what you're saying and follow what you're saying, but I feel like it still like presents a lot of questions. And part of it is like, it's hard to talk about the difficulty adjustment in the vacuum without like explaining all these other things. Like say, for example, like why are they even doing this to begin with? Right.
That's a big question.
So then you have to explain, okay, well, Bitcoin is one way of describing Bitcoin is that it's a blockchain, and what a blockchain is, and that it's a. Do
you go down the blockchain road with people? Like I honestly I barely ever do.
Not anymore, but like but you have to at some point explain it as to like, like, why is it every 10 minutes? Well, because every 10 minutes you're adding a new block to the blockchain. And then the question pops, what is a blockchain? And then what is a block? Well, a block is a set of new transactions that people are trying to make by sending new Bitcoin from me to you, from you to me. If I was trying to send 10 Bitcoin to you, if I had 10, I probably wouldn't. Maybe one. But that transaction is not on the blockchain yet. But if I want to send it to you, then I have to put it on the blockchain. Well, how does it get there? Well, how does it get there? Do you know how it gets there?
This is an interesting question, right? That the whether you actually hold your Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. And this is like another thing I don't tell people is that you don't actually hold any of your Bitcoin. Like, you have the keys and like it's actually somewhere else. Don't worry about that. Like, and then people freak out. Like, what do you mean? I don't even have it. It's all on chain anyways. Like, what's the point? Like, you don't want to go down that road with people. I prefer to say you have, you have space in one of these blocks issued every 10 minutes. You pay for the space based on how urgently you need the space. And the space has value because of the energy it takes to create and secure the block. Then you can start talking about validation, how that mechanism works, things like that. I mean, it depends really on like how long you have with the person. If they're stuck with me for an hour, like I might make it to the difficulty adjustment thing. If they're stuck with me for, if you get married to me, you're going to fucking know a bunch of this stuff a lot sooner than you thought. Right. And, so you get, exactly. Right. So, you wind up with a different set of discussion points for different people. I think one of the things we're missing in Bitcoin, honestly, John, is that there's so much good long form content, so many good discussions, whether it's, stuff about block size wars or SegWit or, any of these sort of like, I don't want to say they're infighting, but they're definitely like internal debates that have happened in the community with significant and tangible outcomes at the back end. But one thing we seem to be lacking is like where's the 30-second elevator pitch? There isn't one. There's people I would nominate. Yeah, there's people I would like nominate to give one. Like I think Preston Pish could probably do it fairly well. Mike Saylor can't say anything unless he's got 4 hours. I don't know who else would be on that short list. Like, I think there's probably other people who could do it. Maybe Matt Odell, but like the point is that there's laymen out there who I think want to get into Bitcoin. And there's also like sophisticated investors who want to get into Bitcoin, but they just don't, much like you and me we just don't understand. Right. I didn't want to put $100 in. If you had $1 million, you may not want to part with it. If the guy on the other end of the discussion is going, well, listen, you don't actually hold the Bitcoin. It's on the blockchain. You'd be like, I'm fucking out of here, man. Like, I'm not sticking around for the rest of this conversation. We're done. What keys? What are you talking about? USB drives and nodes. I don't want that. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets technical and complicated very quickly. But I talked to Julian, Kinetic Finance, to plug him again. He was saying that that's his mission. He sees himself being that guy that's making, short 30-second, 60-second videos, TikToks or whatever, and like orange pilling, like the people that, need the most orange pilling, the most vulnerable in our society, the ones that don't have time to be learning about the difficulty adjustment.
Man, I say it all the time. I'm glad you said that. There's the people who need it the most are the ones who are most unlikely to find it, which sucks, man. But yeah, man, if he can do it, great. It needs to be done.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we're going to support him. I mean, obviously, and spread that content when it comes as it comes out. And freaking that's what we need. Let's we're getting close to the end here. It's getting pretty late, so let's wrap her up. Let's talk about body weight squats.
Well, I don't know. Listen. I don't even have that many Twitter followers. I think I got like maybe 2,000. And I got to tell you, the number of things I tweet without thinking about them in the middle of like a workout or while I'm firing off a turd or something. And people like, there's 10 responses like, well, I don't know about that. Like, oh, why don't you, like, you don't have to respond to everything. That includes you. Okay. About body weight squats. It doesn't matter if I say body weight squats are a waste of time. Just let me have it.
I only respond to fitness related things because I feel
I'm
like
at the gym exposing my nipples, John. I don't care about body weight squats. Okay. I'm going to the gym tomorrow. I'm not doing body weight squats. What is your position on squats in general? Because I'm of two minds on squats. I want to hear what you think as a guy who knows fitness. What do you think about squats?
Squats are great. Do them as often as you like, as your body lets you.
Knees over toes. As your body lets you.
Knees over toes. Any position of squat is good.
Are you a push the knees out during the rep guy? Are you a
knees forward?
Knees forward. Okay.
Forward is. I'll be honest. I used to coach my clients knees out, and it helps a lot of people. But ultimately, I've come to the conclusion that it's not the best cue. Knees forward is a better cue.
Knees forward. Okay. Because I've been thinking a lot about. I want to get. Okay, I'll tell you. I want to get to a 300-pound squat. I would love for it to be 3 reps, but I think at the moment, I would be happy with 1 rep at 300, maybe by the fall. Mm-hmm. The only reason I say 300 is because I think that once you get to 300, it's like a pretty major mental hurdle on the way to 315. That third plate on the bar would be really nice. Now, here's the question I have for you.
Sure. Do
you think that to get to 315 pounds on the squat bar, it's better to just squat, the Mark Ripito method, add 5 pounds every workout, take 7 minutes between the sets if you have to, doesn't matter. Just grind all the way out 5 pounds. Or is it better to hit your 1 RM on squat every week or every 2 weeks, and then do a bunch of accessories to try and build up the auxiliary muscles and systems in your legs that you're going to need when you finally do get that 3 plates on? What do you think?
Depends. Sorry.
That's good. That's good. Listen, that's good. Good advice there. Got the fitness guy here. I used to coach my clients. What did you tell them? Depends. Yeah. Sweet, man.
Like, you put me on the spot, and that's always the answer when you get put on the spot. Like, everyone's different. Everyone has a different path. I'll tell you, I never got to 300. The closest I got was 2 years ago. I got to 295 for a single.
Oh, that's a lot. I haven't done 295.
And I'll tell you how I did it. And I wasn't planning on even doing it. It just kind of happened because I decided I was going to do my daily minimum for squats every day. So at the end of the night, I would just go down and I would do like a warm-up set of 10.
You got a rack in your basement then?
Yeah.
I got a rack in my basement too. And I've been thinking about this squatting every day thing that I've seen some people do. Anyway, go ahead. Okay, continue.
Yeah. So it was my daily minimum. I would go down at the end of the day. I would do my warm-up set of 10. Usually my warm-up set would be like the 135. And I would
one play. Yeah.
Yeah. I would just focus on the form, go slow, and just warm myself up. And then from then on, I would just do, I think I added 25 pounds at a time. So I would do after the 10 rep set, I would do at most 3. Eventually, the heavier weights seemed like a lot lighter, so I would do them for reps of 5. But usually, I would start off for sets of 3 until I got to my final set, which would be a single. And I would try to keep the sets low. So I would, after my the number of sets low, so I wouldn't do more than I want to say 4.
See, this is another thing I struggle with. I was benching this morning. This is great content for the Bitcoin crowd. I was benching this morning, and I usually do the bar first, 10, usually 10 reps, 12 reps, depending on how I feel when I get there. I jump right to 135, then to 185. Then I start thinking about whether or not I should be going right to 225 or going to 205, then 225. Because that 205 set that's not a warm-up anymore. 185, I still think is a bit of a warm-up. It's it's a working set, but it's not going to hurt you. But that 205, if you're trying to bench 235 that day, that 205 set's going to hurt you. So sometimes I think would I be better off doing 185 and going right to 225, or maybe 185 twice before going to 225? I
say skip it.
Yeah.
That's eventually eventually you're going to work towards skipping it. You're going to start off on a safer, more cautionary side. And then as you get used to it, as you adapt, then you skip it, then you no longer need it.
Yeah. I think I got to start thinking about that. And the squats thing is the same thing. Like I think I did the other 2 weeks ago, maybe, or a week ago, I did 275, which is, for me, that's a lot. Do you do high bar or low bar?
High bar.
High bar. Okay. Yeah. Same. There's like a whole religion around low bar squats. People who say that get the squats a hip lift, no matter where you think you're doing legs. Once you get to a high enough weight, it's got to be a hip lift. I don't agree with that. I don't think, but I'm not sure.
It depends. Like, sorry to keep using that term.
So it's a hip lift. Maybe do you belt or no? No, me neither. Okay.
I have used a belt. I don't have issues with it, but that's, I don't know, just an extra piece of equipment that's like, I'm more around the minimalist side, even though I have a bunch of equipment.
Same. Like I'll wrap my wrists benching, doing overhead press, but that's all I got. I don't use anything else. Do you have like the, what are those shoes everyone's got? Do you have those shoes too?
Lifting shoes specifically, like Olympic lifting shoes?
Is that what they're called? I don't know. They look real flat, maybe with like a little plastic thing on the heel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't have those shoes. That sounds like lifting shoes.
Yeah, I just wear my basketball shoes in the gym. I'm not doing all that shit.
I'm a barefoot lifter.
Are you really?
Barefoot.
How do you find that?
Bare feet.
Actual bare feet, like no socks, no nothing. Yeah. How do you find that? It's
better contact with the ground, which more proprioception, better balance. Yeah. Overall, I think it's a no-brainer for training. It's better.
I'm a big proprioception guy. I tore my ACL maybe a decade ago. That was a big part of the rehab. And I tore my Achilles, I don't know, 3 months ago, big part of the rehab as well. So yeah, I'm big on that. Maybe I'll start thinking about that. But anyway,
just to finish off my daily minimum 1 rep kind of maxing out.
So what do you do?
I did it for about a month almost. I think I did it I think I might have stopped a little bit short of a month because my body was getting to a breaking point. So that's an important point, is kids, listen to what your body says to you. Like, there's a really important skill that most people don't have, is like being able to hear and fine tune out what the body's trying to tell them. If you're able to, like, you can do this where you can like push yourself, like rev it up to like a 1 rep on RM, like for nearly 30 days straight, and then work yourself up to 295. Like I started off with like where 225 was like a challenge for me. And in a month I went from 225 to 295.
That's a big fucking jump in a month.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, if you're practicing 1 RMs, then you get good at 1 RMs.
Yeah. I guess we're thinking about that, because I do want to get there by the fall, but if I don't, I won't be heartbroken. I got whatever, it's fine. You
got your whole life ahead of you, man. Like
exactly.
You're going to get stronger in your 40s.
Do you really? Because I feel like in the last 2 years, I've gotten a lot stronger into my mid 30s here.
Well, so I'm that's just speculation, because I'm not a 40-year-old. I'm 33, turning 34 this year, but I'm definitely strongest that I've ever been. And I don't foresee this stopping in the next decade.
Don't jinx it, buddy. Don't jinx it.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, right? Like, obviously anything can happen. I could be dead tomorrow. But
that's not what I meant.
Yeah. Don't worry. Don't worry. My private keys are. I made a if I die instruction list for my wife for all the Bitcoin. Yeah,
good on you.
If you've ever thought about that, or like any listeners who might.
She knows.
Perfect. It's very important, man. Like you never know. Like, you might get hit by a bus tomorrow, and like she doesn't have access to the private keys. Like, that sucks.
Estate planning is important, and Bitcoin makes it a little more difficult than it should be, probably, for the time being. But yeah, you got to tell your significant other, if you got a little bit of stack that you want to pass along, then tell her before you die. It'll probably make it easier. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to write instructions on what to actually do, like, besides the private keys. Like, okay,
punch this in here.
As much as I talked to her about it, she's still like more on the noob side of things.
That's right. Like, she'll get it, Johnny.
Actually using it. She just like,
she's got being me, with right? you. She'll get it.
Yeah,
she'll get it.
Yeah. She's got me. So she's just like, I don't have to learn this. Cool, man. You've been very generous with your time. Thank you so much for coming on.
Dude, I'm glad we were finally able to make this happen. We tried a couple of weeks ago, and I think, you got sick, right?
No, I didn't get sick. I was just so tired at the end of the day because I had a long day.
I thought you weren't feeling well or something. Okay.
It might have been that too. I'm not sure. I did have a
illness. And you're not going to the thing this weekend, eh?
No, I won't be there on Saturday.
You got the bachelor party. Yeah.
I got a bachelor party I'm going to tomorrow.
Yes. Damn. Yeah. Next time, buddy. Next time. I'm happy we did this. It was a great conversation. I love talking to Bitcoiners, man. So let's do it again sometime.
That'd be awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening to the end. If you want to reach out and talk some more about Bitcoin, you can always tweet at me at jmartfit or message me on Instagram. Same thing at jmartfit. There's also the email option. Send an email to newsletter@jmartfit.com. Otherwise, till next week, stay active, be grateful, J-Mart out.